Hello and welcome to Business Talk, brought to you by the Sharonville Chamber of Commerce. I'm Britt Scarce with Emory Federal Credit Union. I'm your host, and today here in studio we have Pete McCreary from the Junk King.
Good to be here, Britt. Thanks.
Welcome, Pete.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Pete. Last time you were here, it was like 2011.
It was, I think so. Dave Sperry was doing what you're doing now, and it was right after we had opened. I don't even think it was more than 2 months after we had opened.
So you had just started out, and you had like what, one truck or?
Yeah, one truck back then. So so that was at that point I was just getting over my nervousness of starting the business because the first week in the business we had no jobs.
Wow.
Not a single job. And that just completely freaked me out. But then it started getting better, and of course, it's just blown up into a wildly successful operation now. So I'm very excited.
And I've watched you grow from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so you have come a long way. So let's first talk. What do you do at Junk King?
Okay.
And then let's talk about how much you've grown since 2011.
Okay, great. So Junk King, for those that may not know, we're a professional junk removal business. So we just get rid of stuff for customers, mostly residential, but we do a fair amount of commercial business as well.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody needs to get rid of something, we'll haul just about anything away except hazardous waste.
Okay.
We take down sheds and backyards and hot tubs and then just classic basement cleanouts, real estate cleanouts, that kind of stuff. We get rid of everything. And then foundational to our purpose is to try to recycle, repurpose, or donate as much as possible out of what we haul away. Which is right around 60%, 50 to 60% of everything that we haul, we're able to find another use for somehow or another.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of different from what a lot of other junk removal companies. They don't normally do that kind of stuff, do they?
As far as I know, yeah, that you're correct. Pretty much everybody recycles metal.
Okay.
You can take that to a scrap yard, and there's a little bit of a revenue stream on metal, and the metals are separated into different types.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get a certain amount for steel, aluminum, copper's the big one. That's why people steal copper and stuff. But so everybody pretty much does that. But where we go, I think, which is unique, is we're recycling books, cardboard, paper, magazines. We're pulling all that stuff off our trucks, electronics, clothes. We donate that, furniture, medical supplies, paint.
Wow.
Anything that we can find another use for somehow, we're pulling off and trying to repurpose in some form, which is the reason for our warehouse that we have, which is meant to sort all of that until we get enough of it for one of our recycling partners to come get.
Wow. So you started off with one truck.
Yeah.
So how many do we have now?
So I'm expecting the delivery of number 11 within the next week or two. So yeah, that's been ordered. I can't get it fast enough because I needed it today, as a matter of fact. So when I leave here, I got to go make sure we got everything done today. But I couldn't be happier with how it's gone. So we started with one truck in September of 2011, and we ordered our second truck in February of 2012, and then I think this year I bought two, last year I bought two, and the prior year I bought three. So we are it's so fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not fun.
I was going to say,
but
I bet there's a few assignments that you may get that you're like, oh, this one's a little challenging.
Yeah,
I mean, you come across a lot of interesting things, I'm sure.
Yeah, we rarely we walk away from a job, but we walked away from one the other night.
Really?
It was just, the mold was just so bad.
Oh.
It really is going to require a mold remediation.
Well, I was going to say that's actually a health,
Right.
challenge for your employees.
Well, and we do have mold-resistant masks and things because we're doing, when there's a flood, we're doing some of that clean out in the basement kind of stuff. So we do that kind of work, and so we're used to nasty. We're used to that, so stuff doesn't generally scare us away, but this one was particularly pretty bad. And the guy that bought the house had never seen it, so we're the ones telling him the bad news. Which,
man, so he's going to have to get like a special, mold remediation company to go. Oh my gosh!
But that's very rare. I mean, I think we might have done that 5 or 6 times ever in the 7 years almost that we've been in business. So we're pretty much that last call to make, but it's interesting work. It really is. It's interesting what you can find to recycle. That's what's fun for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so, this is the everyday person that just has, like you said, a shed that they need to have taken apart that's just, it's starting to fall down.
Yep.
They just need to be able to get it gone so they can buy a new one and have it delivered. Up to just even a company that's maybe shutting down or relocating and they just have
Office cleanouts, yeah.
Yeah.
They're moving and not taking furniture with them, or they're, the big thing as you go digital, there's been times where we just hauled away a whole bunch of filing cabinets that people don't need anymore because they're paperless now. So
Right.
yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Man,
A little bit of everything. So.
that's exciting. So, and you also, heck, you're even doing your own radio show and things like
Yep.
that now too.
So that started this year. I was dabbling with a little bit of radio work with Gary Rosignol, who's a real estate agent. And so he would have me on his show once a quarter just to talk about junk removal because realtors need that all the time.
Yeah.
And so it kind of got into, and then once a month I would kind of take over the show, and that was fun, where I would kind of lead the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then in January of this year, I partnered up with our biggest customer, which is Everything But the House. I know one of the founders there super well.
Mm-hmm.
She and I have watched our daughters grow up through gymnastics. That's how we got to know each other. And they're our biggest customer. And so we've kind of partnered up on a show on 55 KRC called For What It's Worth. And that is on Sunday afternoons, where we take calls and they kind of answer what's worth money and what's not. And then I answer all the ones about once it's not worth something, what do you do with it then?
How do you get that to the recycling place?
It's really designed more for them to answer, that set of china, is it worth anything? Or that doll that you got from your grandmother. So it's really interesting stuff, but it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that a lot of folks that, my gosh, if they lived in a house for 30 or 40 years, they may have collectibles and things that you come across that, they had no idea that it may be worth thousands of dollars.
Well, that's the funny thing. Most of the time, that's when if it's obvious, then I'll recommend Everything But the House and
Mm-hmm.
call them. But the funny thing is, and I say this all the time, I am sure that I have thrown away $1 million. and I wouldn't surprise me, and not that I'll ever know, if it's $2 million.
Yeah.
Because I do have a guy that kind of, he's just looking for interesting stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he does. He's my recycling manager guy. And so he's pulling off stuff, and he found a book. He found a high school yearbook signed by Jack Nicklaus.
Really?
Jack Nicklaus was a junior in high school, and we've got his high school yearbook signed by Jack Nicklaus when he was like 17.
16, 17 years
Yeah.
old. Man.
So we just find weird stuff. So it's
Well, you think there's a lot of sports stars and people that obviously live in town and have probably signed things over the years, or, and people have it from 30 years ago, and those things end up
we'll
becoming
find a football now and then. I think we had one of the Bengals got rid of some stuff, and he had his name on his shoes.
shoes.
Yeah. So I won't say the name. But yeah, we had one of those. Those are kind of fun. The guys are all like, "Oh, can I go on that?" Because you'll see the name pop up, right? And you'll say, "Can I go on that?" Right? So you tell them, "Come on, try to be cool when you go there." Like,
Yeah.
don't
Act like you've
Right.
been there before.
Right,
Be professional.
We
Yeah.
are professionals at this. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of interesting. So
Now, are you also in other markets? So, I mean, obviously, you started off here in Sharonville.
yes.
And you also working in other cities?
Yeah, so my role, Junk King, of course, is a franchise.
Mhm.
So there's about 100 franchises in the country, and we've bled into Canada a little bit now at this point. When I got in, it was pretty young. So when I first started, it was just Cincinnati, and we covered, of course, Northern Kentucky and Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and we go out to about Bethel area.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go further for the right job if the prices are right and it makes sense to do. So we did that, and then in 2013 we branched out and opened Dayton. So I own and operate that in the Dayton franchise, and then my relationship with Junk King was going very, very well, and so I ended up actually becoming the master franchise developer for Ohio. So I've done that for about the last 4 or 5 years now, and so that's a lot of fun. So that's where
It's a long way from one truck just starting
right,
out, huh?
right. So I actually helped the guy up in Cleveland get started. So he's got his franchise up there, and then we've kind of helped develop Columbus a little bit more than what they had. And I'm still trying to find someone to open in Toledo. That's
Is that right?
Yeah, I'd love to sell that Toledo territory, but
Okay.
I have one guy that would love to do it, but it's work. It's a lot of
Okay.
work, and it takes a lot of management. And he's an older guy who doesn't want to do that. He wants to have somebody do it, but. But yeah, so that's, we go from 1 truck to 11 trucks. We have dumpsters now, so we're dropping off 12 cubic yard dumpsters for those that want that. If they want what we call self-service, where if they want to go through stuff little by little instead of having us come and just get rid of it, because we're quick, we're fast.
Yeah.
So
you get in there, grab it, put it on the truck, and get on.
Yeah. So if you want to do it yourself and go through things as you're doing it, we've got the dumpster drop-off service, which is pretty popular. And then since we moved over onto Gondola Street, we added what we call a drop-off service, where if you want to bring it to us, we'll recycle it, donate it, or in some, if we have to throw it in, at the transfer station or the dump, we'll do that as well.
Okay.
So that's been, and so people just bring TVs. That's the big one. They try to take a TV to Goodwill.
You can't give away those big TVs anymore. I mean, people won't even,
And they all work. Most of them.
They'll work, but it's like you can even put out on Facebook, curb alert. It'll still be there. They won't take them.
We get 4 or 5 every day.
Wow.
Every day. So it's a lot of people bring them by. In fact, Josh, who works here, he brought by 4 TVs like 3 weeks ago. That's, I think, how this conversation even started. I said, "Oh, you're working over there. I should call those guys and see what's going on." And so they brought in 4 TVs because he and his brother used to work for me.
Okay.
While they were in college. So.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great getting an update. I mean, gosh, like you said, it's been 11 years since you've been on the show.
7 years. 7 years.
I'm sorry, it was 2011, so it's been
Right.
7 years, since you've been on the show. But man, that's a lot of growth in that time frame. You've really been busy, and you've done a great job.
Yeah, thank you. And we're moving next door, so we can even recycle even more. So
Wow.
we're moving into the building, and the Aero Trucking building on Gondola. We're moving in there in about a month.
Okay.
And we'll be able to recycle stuff that we're not wood and just even more stuff.
So if someone would like to have you come and get rid of their stuff, how would they contact you?
Okay, so you can call our call center. That number is 1-888-888-JUNK.
Okay.
You can also book online at www.junk-king.com, and you can just plug in your zip code and book a job right online and save $20 doing it that way if you'd like. So.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like us to know?
Estimates are always free. and the thing I tell people is we'd be happy to come out and talk you through. If you got a big project, mom and dad are moving or whatever, we'll talk you through and we'll tell you how to get rid of it all for free.
Okay.
And we just want the junk at the end.
Okay.
We're just there to help, and that's a big project for people. It's emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
And so we're just want to try to help people out. So we'll help you talk through how to get rid of stuff at no or low cost, and then we'll just come in and get what you have to at the very end to get it ready to go on the market.
Sounds great. Pete, thanks so much for coming
in and sharing. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All the new growth and everything with us, and letting us know everything you're up to.
All right.
Pete McCreary with the Junk King has been our guest. We'll be right back with the HR Roundtable.